Are you awake yet, Jack? GW, the Arsenal AI is corrupted beyond repair. I admit that I underestimated you. I'll squeeze the answers out of you instead, my son!
What do you hope to hear? You know he doesn't know anything.
It's not him I want the answers from.
What do you mean?
That's not your business.
Oh, really? It so happens I have some business of my own to attend to.
Planning to hijack Arsenal?
Huh?
You were going... They were planning to extend their control to digital... No, there is another way.
Ames and the President. Solidus. Do you know... Thought I got her in the...
I've been inside this arm all along, waiting for the right... I'm off to bury the Patriots for...
Federal Hall.
What are you laughing at?
Do you know what day it is today?
April 30th?
That's right. George Washington took office as the first president of the United States of America 200 years ago today. And it happened right here. We were going to declare another independence, the dawn of a new nation, here. The end of the Patriots' secret rule, liberation of this country. This was where it was supposed to begin. This is where freedom could have been born.
All you want is power at any cost.
Jack, it's not power I want. What I wanted to take back from the Patriots are things like freedom, civil rights, opportunities. The founding principles of this country. Everything that's about to be wiped out by their digital censorship. Jack, listen to me. We're all born with an expiration date. No one lasts forever. Life is nothing but a grace period for turning the best of our genetic material into the next generation. The data of life is transferred from parent to child. That's how it works. But we have no heirs, no legacy. We brothers are called les enfants terribles. Cloned from our father, with the ability to reproduce conveniently engineered out. What is our legacy if we cannot pass the torch? proof of our existence, a mark of some sort. When the torch is passed on from parent to child, it extends beyond DNA. Information is imparted as well. All I want is to be remembered by other people, by history. The Patriots are trying to protect their power, their own interests, by controlling the digital flow of information. I want my memory, my existence to remain. Unlike an intron of history, I will be remembered as an exon. That will be my legacy, my mark in history. But the Patriots would deny us even that. I will triumph over the Patriots and liberate us all, and we will become the Sons of Liberty!
Raiden, are you receiving? We're still here.
How's that possible? The AI was destroyed.
Only GW.
Who are you?
To begin with, we're not what you'd call human. Over the past 200 years, a kind of consciousness formed layer by layer in the crucible of the White House. It's not unlike the way life started in the oceans 4 billion years ago. The White House was our primordial soup, a base of evolution. We are formless. We are the very discipline and morality that Americans invoke so often. How can anyone hope to eliminate us? As long as this nation exists, so will we.
Cut the crap! If you're immortal, why would you take away individual freedoms and censor the net?
Jack, don't be silly.
Don't you know that our plans have your interests, not ours, in mind?
What?
Jack, listen carefully, like a good boy.
The mapping of the human genome was completed early this century. As a result, the evolutionary log of the human race lay open to us.
We started with genetic engineering, and in the end, we succeeded in digitizing life itself.
But there are things not covered by genetic information.
What do you mean?
Human memories, ideas, culture, history.
Genes don't contain any record of human history.
Is it something that should not be passed on? Should that information be left at the mercy of nature?
We've always kept records of our lives, through words, pictures, symbols, from tablets to books.
But not all the information was inherited by later generations. A small percentage of the whole was selected and processed, then passed on. Not unlike genes, really.
That's what history is, Jack.
But in the current digitized world, trivial information is accumulating every second, preserved in all its triteness, never fading, always accessible.
Rumors about petty issues, misinterpretations, slander.
All this junk data, preserved in an unfiltered state, growing at an alarming rate.
It will only slow down social progress, reduce the rate of evolution.
Right. You seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
Create context?
The digital society furthers human flaws and selectively rewards development of convenient half-truths. Just look at the strange juxtapositions of morality around you.
Billions spent on new weapons in order to humanely murder other humans.
Rights of criminals are given more respect than the privacy of their victims.
Although there are people suffering in poverty, huge donations are made to protect endangered species. Everyone grows up being told the same thing.
Be nice to other people.
But beat out the competition.
You're special. Believe in yourself and you will succeed.
But it's obvious from the start that only a few can succeed.
You exercise your right to freedom, and this is the result. All rhetoric to avoid conflict and protect each other from hurt. The untested truths, spun by different interests, continue to churn and accumulate in the sandbox of political correctness and value systems.
Everyone withdraws into their own small gated community, afraid of a larger forum. They stay inside their little ponds, leaking whatever truth suits them into the growing cesspool of society at large.
The different cardinal truths neither clash nor mesh. No one is invalidated, but nobody is right.
Not even natural selection can take place here. The world is being engulfed in truth.
And this is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
We're trying to stop that from happening.
It's our responsibility as rulers. Just as in genetics, unnecessary information and memory must be filtered out to stimulate the evolution of the species.
And you think you're qualified to decide what's necessary and not?
Absolutely. Who else could wade through the sea of garbage you people produce, retrieve valuable truths, and even interpret their meaning for later generations?
That's what it means to create context.
I'll decide for myself what to believe and what to pass on.
But is that even your own idea?
Or something Snake told you.
That's the proof of your incompetence right there. You lack the qualifications to exercise free will.
That's not true. I have the right.
Does something like a self exist inside of you?
That which you call self serves as nothing more than a mask to cover your own being.
In this era of ready-made truths, self is just something used to preserve those positive emotions that you occasionally feel.
Another possibility is that self is a concept you conveniently borrowed under the logic that it would endow you with some sense of strength.
That's crap!
Is it? Would you prefer that someone else tell you? All right then. Explain it to him.
Jack, you're simply the best, and you got there all by yourself.
Oh, what happened? Do you feel lost? Why not try a bit of soul-searching?
Don't think you'll find anything, though.
Ironic that although self is something that you yourself fashioned, every time something goes wrong, you turn around and place the blame on something else.
It's not my fault. It's not your fault.
In denial, you simply resort to looking for another, more convenient truth in order to make yourself feel better.
Leaving behind in an instant the so-called truth you once embraced.
Should someone like that be able to decide what is truth?
Should someone like you even have the right to decide?
You've done nothing but abuse your freedom.
You don't deserve to be free.
We're not the ones smothering the world. You are.
The individual is supposed to be weak, but far from powerless. A single person has the potential to ruin the world.
And the age of digitized communication has given even more power to the individual. Too much power for an immature species.
Building a legacy involves figuring out what is wanted and what needs to be done for that goal. All this you used to struggle with. Now we think for you.
We are your guardians, after all.
You want to control human thought? Human behavior?
Of course. Anything can be quantified nowadays. That's what this exercise was designed to prove.
You fell in love with me just as you were meant to, after all. Isn't that right, Jack?
Ocelot was not told the whole truth, to say the least.
We rule an entire nation. Of what interest would a single soldier, no matter how able, be to us?
The S3 plan does not stand for solid snake simulation. What it does stand for is selection for societal sanity. The S3 is a system for controlling human will and consciousness. S3 is not you, a soldier trained in the image of Solid Snake. It is a method, a protocol that created a circumstance that made you what you are.
So you see, we're the S3, not you.
What you experienced was the final test of its effectiveness.
That's crazy.
You heard what President Johnson said.
The Arsenal's GW system is the key to their supremacy.
The objective of this exercise was to establish such a method. We used Shadow Moses as a paradigm for the exercise.
I wonder if you would have preferred a fantasy setting.
We chose that backdrop because of its extreme circumstances. It was an optimal test for S3's crisis management capacity. If the model could trigger, control, and solve this, it would be ready for any contingency. And now, we have our proof. Raiden, there are also reasons behind your selection. Solidus raised plenty of other child soldiers. Do you know why we chose you over them? It was because you were the only one who refused to acknowledge the past. All the others remember what they were and pay for it daily.
But you turn your back on everything you don't like. You do whatever you like, see only the things you like, and for yourself alone.
Yes, Rose can attest to that.
You refused to see me for what I was. I lied to you, but I wanted to be caught. You pretended to be understanding, to be a gentleman. You never made a conscious attempt to reach out to me. The only time you did was when I gave you no choice but to do so.
I was just trying not to...
What? Trying not to hurt me? Dear, the one you were trying not to hurt was yourself. Avoiding the truth under the guise of kindness is all that you did. It occurred to you to do nothing but look out for yourself. Even if you claim that it was for my sake, that feeling was nowhere to be seen. In the end, everything was for your sake. I was never part of the picture.
Exactly right. So you see, you're a perfect representative of the masses we need to protect. This is why we chose you. You accepted the fiction we've provided, obeyed our orders, and did everything you were told to. The exercise is a resounding success.
Didn't I tell you that GW is still incomplete? But not anymore, thanks to you.
Your persona, experiences, triumphs, and defeats are nothing but byproducts. The real objective was ensuring that we could generate and manipulate them. It's taken a lot of time and money, but it was well worth it considering the results. I think that's enough talk. It's time for the final exercise. Raiden, take Solidus down.
Think again. I'm through doing what I'm told.
Oh, really? Aren't you forgetting something?
If you die, my child dies.
The termination of vital signals from your nanomachines means the death of Olga's child. Not to mention the death of Rose. She's wired the same way.
Rose, does she actually exist?
Of course I do, Jack. You have to believe me.
Damn!
It will be a fight to the death.
Solidus at least wants you dead.
We will collect the necessary data from this. We'll consider the exercise closed. So, Jack the Ripper, will it be Solidus, the Patriot's creation, or you, Solidus's creation? Our beloved monsters, enjoy yourselves.
Jack, my son. My clone brothers and I are called monsters, replicates of evil genes. You are one of a kind, but still a monster, shaped by a dark and secret history. We need to decide which monstrosity will have the privilege of survival. By the way, Jack, I was the one who killed your parents. I claimed you for my own and raised you as a soldier in the army of the devil. I am your foster father and your worst enemy.
Why?
Because I needed to know whether we were really someone else's creation. We're repeating history, Jack. Liquid and Solid hunted down Big Boss, trying to sever the tie that bound them to him. Unless you kill me and face your past, Jack, you will never escape. You'll stay in the endless loop. Your own double helix. It's time we were both free. I have other reasons for wanting you dead. The clues to the Patriots inside GW have been erased, but there are other traces. Inside you.
What?
The information is being carried by the nanomachines in your cerebral cortex, and throughout the neural network they've formed. Brace yourself. Is that the best you can do? Is that the best you can do? What's wrong with you? Good work, Jack. This is where it gets interesting. What's wrong with you?
No one quite knows who or what they are. The memories you have and the role you were assigned are burdens you had to carry. It doesn't matter if they were real or not. That's never the point. There's no such thing in the world as absolute reality. Most of what they call real is actually fiction. What you think you see,
Even. What am I going to leave behind?
what we had faith in. What we found important enough to fight for. It's not whether you were right or wrong, but how much faith you were willing to have. That decides the future. The Patriots are a kind of ongoing fiction too, come to think of it. Listen, don't obsess over words so much. Find the meaning behind the words, then decide. You can find your own name. And your own future.
Decide for myself?
And whatever you choose will be you.
I don't know if I can.
I know you didn't have much in terms of choices this time. But everything you felt, thought about during this mission is yours. And what you decide to do with them is your choice.
You mean start over?
Yeah, a clean slate, a new name, new memories. Choose your own legacy. It's for you to decide. It's up to you. By the way, what is that?
Dog tags.
Anyone you know?
No, never heard the name before. I'll pick my own name, and my own life. I'll find something worth passing on. They taught me some good things, too.
I know. We've inherited freedom from all those who fought for it. We all have the freedom to spread the word, even me.
Snake, what about Olga's child?
Don't worry, I'll find him, count on it. As long as you keep yourself alive, he's safe.
Do you know where Liquid went?
I put a transmitter on his ray.
Did he head for the Patriots?
Yeah, but I have a feeling they gave Ocelot a bogus location to begin with. Cheer up, we have a better lead. This contains the list of all the Patriots.
But Ocelot took it.
The one we gave you wasn't the real thing.
What?
This virus is coded to destroy only a specific part of GW, namely the information about the Patriots' identity. Which means that there's a parameter coded in here that defines what that information is.
I get it. Analyze the code and you can probably find out where they operate. Count me in.
No, you have things to do first. And people you need to talk to.
Snake?
What's wrong?
Nothing. Can I ask you something? Who am I, really?
I wouldn't know. But we're going to find out together, aren't we?
Oh. Yeah.
See me for what I am, okay?
I know.
Do you remember this place?
Of course. This is where we first met. I remember now.
Hmm?
Today is the day I met you.
That's it.
I think I found something to pass along to the future.
What?
He said all living things want their genes to live on.
Are you talking about the baby?
Yeah. The genes aren't the only thing you pass on. There are too many things that aren't written into our DNA. It's up to us to teach that to our children.
What kind of things?
About the environment, our ideas, our culture, poetry, compassion, sorrow, joy. We'll tell them everything together.
Is that a proposal?
This is for your ears only.
I stare at the stars and the sky up above and think.
Alright, so this is the end of Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. Reevaluating everything. It's an 8 in total. 8 in total, but for me it was an 8.2. It doesn't go beyond the 8.2. It doesn't go beyond 8. There are many issues with regards to swimming. There was many issues with regards to hiding against walls. Sometimes the story were longer than they need to be. It was a lot of talking to the point that sometimes it become a noise. That could have been trimmed down a little, but it was good. The aiming and crouching is outdated, so those were things that I would take away. Even with adding the analog to replace the up, down, left, and right, and I can't skip this anyway, so I would have to wait till all the singing is over. The design of the characters are good. Well, let me just point out the negatives. There were a total of 10 to 12 negatives. So, like I said before, using up, down, left, right for movement is outdated, so that was one. And the analog didn't help, actually made it worse. Swimming wasn't that good as well. With the up, down, left, right, and the speed with regards to pressing the X button to go forward. Banging into walls kind of push you in one direction and not, due to the controls. So that's the third thing. Fourth thing, the rendering of characters weren't on point. Fifth thing, that the design of I'm not knocking the design of characters because the model was that's for what they had, but the rendering wasn't that good. Transition, like I said, for stories was good, but with regards to the length of certain dialogues, it was overdone because he had a lot to say in here, but it was overdone. It could be an annoyance to those who first play it. Sometimes when you're fighting the Harrier, or when you're fighting Vamp, or when you're fighting something, you can't see what's going on because your gun is blocking the path, standing right in front of you. That was the 7th thing. There was a limitation on movement. When you're aiming, you can't aim and move out the way. It locks you into an aim state. That was the 8th thing. The map wasn't that good. It just identified where you're supposed to be. You don't know exactly where to go. It's just standard at best. That's the 9th thing. The 10th thing was overhead shots with regards to what you're supposed to do when you're looking at the characters moving from space to space. You can't tell when an enemy is around the corner because you didn't have to go right into first-person view again, which is kind of annoying because you have to press all 4 controllers to look, aim, hold the gun, and then shoot. So there's the 4 things you have to do. So with overhead shots, it becomes persistently annoying. So that's the 10th thing. The 11th thing that was bad with regards to the game is the inability to, as you can see, to during certain cutscenes to turn down the volume or to adjust the volume because it's outdated. Just like this, I can't do anything about it. So certain things are outdated as well. But the sound effects and that stuff is good, so that was like the 11th thing. The 12th thing was with regards to scrolling of the menus with regards to the different weapons and everything. Sometimes it would skip from, after you get hit, would skip to the default of the SOMCOM or to not having any weapons at all. I don't know what that was about, but that was annoying as hell, especially during the raid fight. And this music is really drowning out what I'm trying to say. And I can't skip it, so I have to wait until this is over. So there are about 12 things most I would say that was wrong with the game. Opening was good, middle was good, climax was good, cooldown before the end was good, ending was good. So those were the 12 things that I found wrong with the game. So if I was to take away those 12 things out of the game, starting from a base of 5 going -5, I would say it would 2 full points. At most it would be 2 full points. I'm pretty sure there were more issues with regards to the game that I'm missing, but I'm trying to get this over real quick. So there are 2 full points. I do everything on that point system. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it's a full 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm gonna chalk it up to about 20 things were issues with the game. So I drop it down to like a -3, but then I slowly build it back up once I started. Said the pros outweigh the cons by a large amount, and the pros were visuals were good, transitions were good, characters were good, story was good. Weapons were good, use of weapons was good, boss fights were good, boss fights were interesting. There was an intriguing way and clever way to do use tactical warfare and espionage. There's also stealth elements were good, and stealth using a camo in situations was good. So that's a full 1 right there. And then you have to do you have to look at things as architecture of buildings, model design of characters, model design of clothes, design of weapons. All those things have to individually be considered. Effects, elemental effects, spark effects, wind dynamics, light and shadows, rendering on characters, smoothing on characters, tear and shattering. That stuff was okay. Intro video, that's another full 2, so now I'm back up to base of 5, and then you go into intro of the game, which was good. You go into dialogue within the story, that was good. You go along to characters and character development of writing and story, that was good. You go towards the overall story and what the story was, that was also good. Go towards the locations that were set, tanker trucks, the base underwater. That was also
Life
good.
isn't just about passing on your genes. We can leave behind
I'll
much
continue after
more than
this.
just DNA. Through speech,
I'm giving a full one
music,
to the story as well.
literature,
So
and movies,
right now I'm at a
what we've
6.
seen, heard,
Then I'll
felt,
continue to add more positives.
anger, joy, and sorrow. These are the things I will pass on.
I'll wait for this.
That's what I live for. We need to pass the torch and let our children read our messy and sad history by its light. We have all the magic of the digital age to do that with. The human race will probably come to an end sometime, and new species may rule over this planet. Earth may not leave what traces of life we can. Building the future and keeping the past alive are one and the same thing.
I think he's finished talking, so I'll continue on. From a base of now 6, the philosophy in the game from the beginning of the game to now is also good. There was a philosophy starting at the beginning, then there's one in the middle, then there's one towards the end. That was good. The sense of morality
Snake,
with regards to certain
there?
characters.
It's
Actually,
me.
there's more
I've
going
finished
on.
going over that disc.
Did you find the Patriots list?
Of course. It contains the personal data of 12 people. There was a name on it. Snake, it was one of our biggest contributors.
What's going on around here?
I don't know.
Anyway, where are they?
Well, we were right about them being on Manhattan, but
But what?
they're already dead. All 12 of them.
When did it happen?
Well, about 100 years ago.
What the hell?
And that's another thing too. So start from base of the base of where I was starting 6. The morality of the story is good. The psychological implementation in the story of the good. The whole thing about being helpful to your environment and to those around you is also good. Those are points. And then there's the hidden story within the story about the digital, being careful about digital information and about the world that you're living in and using software. That's also true to this day and is a present within our current time. So that's also good. And then there's the information with regards to different context with regards to history applied into the game from reality like Y2K and so on and so forth. That was also good. And then there's the information with regards to how Ocelot and the Patriots use these different characters within the story. So the general story is one thing, but the underlying story of Jack's past, of Solidus' past, of how Ocelot came to do what he did 2 years ago on the tanker, to what went on in Shadow Moses and even before, are also underlined. And also the information of what's going on here, those are also good. That's why I'm giving the game a full 1 point with regards to the story as well, which brought it to 6. But all these individual points I'm giving it to are even more things added toward the story. There was a lot going on in the story, information on information. So those are 8 points so far. The 9th point would be with regards to I would say the use of the sword. Sword play is different from gun play, and they could have just gone with guns, but they decided to use swords as well. I didn't see that coming when I first played the game, and I thought it was a pretty cool idea and they implement it within the game, which is good. So that was the 9th thing. The 10th thing is how certain items that you carried on you were being used. Not so much the sound they made, but what their usage were for, especially when using tranquilizers or when using certain pills. The rations things was from the Metal Gear Solid 1, and I guess also when holding up certain people by gunpoint or choking people out, those are standards from the first game. So the things from the original games were present, so I'm glad they kept those too, so I'm giving a point for that. So now I'm up to a full 7. And what brought the game up to an 8, well, I say it's an 8.8 to an 8.2, is the 12 additional things added towards the game, such as the color of text that you press with regards to interacting with certain buttons, such as the menu system outside of the when you're not playing the game. With regards to setting up certain things, those were smooth and okay, even though they're outdated, but they're working just fine. The color usage for the game, for the design of the wallpaper of the game, as well as each transition when you log into the game. The login is good for the game. The type of zodiac kind of, I guess, CAT scan type of interior, exterior X-ray representation for how things are formed and layer around in cells. Those were okay. I do have a book on me, which I wrote down everything that most games should have. But I would say the loading of the game is fine and fast. There's not a heavy burden on the game for doing things online with regards to uploading and stuff, because it's an old game, so it doesn't require a lot of graphics, so that's good. Also, I did speak on sound effects for the overall game. That's good. And sound system with regards to individual gunshots, that's also good. So I spoke on those. But I also have to speak on the sound with regards to the music. The music within the game was good as well. So that must be included. And music is one of the major factors with regards to Metal Gear Solid. And that's what's one of the major factors of selling Metal Gear Solid. How music is used to convey emotions within the story. And you could say that within movies, you could say that in everything, but the music in Metal Gear Solid is one of the selling points of Metal Gear Solid. So I give it 2 points for the music. The music was far better than that of Metal Gear Solid 1. I really liked it. Now, cutscenes, with regards to certain cutscenes, like if drawn cutscenes, if you draw characters, or you draw an image, an illustration, like Raiden holding his sword up in front of his face when he's moving it from the ground in order to fight Solidus. That's a epic, memorable cutscene. Certain cutscenes are good. Certain images are good. Those must also be considered because they are ingrained within the memories of others. So that's good as well. Does the game have waypoints? The game does not have waypoints, but it has indications with regards to where to go via using your codec. Which is using your radio for comms, not so much like codec like in Warframe. So not so much having waypoints, but also having a system of using radio to communicate with others. That was good as well. Realism of characters and appearance. Designing characters one thing to make them look smooth, and I spoke on that, so I'm not gonna identify that as well. Now, did I get stuck? Were there lots of bugs? There were no bugs in this game because this game was from way back in the days. Movement was harsh and sometimes jagged. That goes into one of the 20 things I found wrong with the game, but there were no bugs within this game, so that's another thing that's good. So all in all, I got the game to about an 8, and I would say the last two, I would give it to bring it to like an 8.2, would be with regards to death animations. Death animations were a little bit better when you fall to your death, when you get blown up, and there are different creative ways for you to die. Yes, in some games, like dying certain ways is fun, like when Raiden falls into the ocean and he's drowning, and instead Snake say Raiden. Those are pretty hilarious. Or when you like accidentally falls on something, or when you get shot in a certain specific way, they try to add a little hilarity and humor towards death animation. So it's not something good about death, but certain games you only have death animation one way, and it's rather boring. But in this game, even though it's an old game, because they didn't have the budget to create different death animation, to put the death animation in regards to surroundings and where you die to be different from certain locations. So those are also a factor. So that's an additional to the 8 as well. Now, I would say with regards to microtransactions and none of that stuff was there, because this was a game from way back then, so you don't have to worry about microtransactions, so I won't even get into that. Grinding in the game, there was no real grinding in the game. Everything was given to you, so you could say that's a negative, so you can't grind for stuff. But at the same time, this is not that type of game. Came out in the past, so I'm not even going to consider that. Could I shuffle through music or not? I'm not going to include that because that wasn't a thing from back then either. Was there button configurations? That's one of the negative things I put in the the 20 negative things. So that's one of those cons. I couldn't use button transition. Um, I would say exploration. This wasn't an exploration game. It's a pretty linear game. You have to go from one place to one place. Or you could say that's a negative as well. But in all truth, all Metal Gear Solid games are kind of a linear. They're not exploration games because they're considered to be, you have objectives, you got to meet objectives, you got to do objectives. So exploration is not counting in this factor as well. So I'm not going to give it a point for that, but I'm not going to give it a takeaway for that. It was the game generic. It wasn't generic at all. It's the story helped it to not be generic. Otherwise, it would have been generic. But I already included that within the story, so I don't need to identify that as well. Was there cooldown within weapons? There were cooldown periods with weapons, so I'm including that. So that's the 8.2 with regards to the game. Now here's the thing. Moving forward, since I opened up my notebook of things that games should have, both exterior and internally, so I could give the game more points from this, and I could also from this point on start subtracting more from this point. So cross save, cross play doesn't need to be in this game. That's not relevant to it when this game came out. Co-op is not needed because this is a singular player. Weapon and ammo upgrades and enhancements not needed for this game because that's not a factor. Basic improvement and benefits with regards to health and wellness also not needed in this game because that's not that type of game. Rewards and rates not needed in this game because that's not that type of game. Clothing and object realism also already considered as a factor. Secrets within the game. And here's the thing, I missed that. So that's an 8.3. There are secrets in this game which are collectibles. So that now I'll get the game to an 8.3. I forgot all about the secrets. Is there a lower to this game? 8.4. Yes, there's a lower to this game. If you look hard enough, if the game didn't tell you, it has more lore to it. In fact, it has a great lore, a deep lore. That goes all the way back to even before Metal Gear Solid 1. Even before Shadow Moses, and even before Snake beat the boss in the 2D version of Metal Gear. Fade in and fade outs were good with regards to the game, which has nothing to do with transition. It's just a type of movie type thing. So that's like a 8.5, but it wasn't that much of a big deal that considered it to be great. Somehow they weren't selected that great, so I'm not going to include that as well. Anti-alias, not necessary. Parkour in the game, also not necessary. Design of weapons and clothing, also considered that as well. Already counted for that. Cooldown of abilities, also consider that as well with regards to the game. Preloaders, the preloaders are good here. Very small and very not that great and identifiable. And I think that's pretty much it. Interaction with doors and chests and smooth stuff. Interactions, yes, pretty good, but dated, so I would put that as a negative. So 8.4 regards to the game. Resource management and that stuff, not needed. This was a game back in the past. Time perks, not needed. This is the game in the past. Sound effects, made for deaf and people with disabilities, not needed because this was also a game from the past. So all in all, if I was to count everything I've considered with regards to, actually, there's also frame rates. Frame rates, resolutions, and pings. Frame rates was kind of outdated. Pings was also kind of outdated, and resolution was also kind of outdated, but those all fall into the 20 things. So all in all, I probably got it to 20. So if I wanted to take more negative from the game, I could say bring it back down to like a 7.4. But there's also stuff like rollovers and pop-ups. Those things were good, so I would be right back where I started at 8.4. And like I said, music and much too much. Is the music good? Music good. Microtransaction. No, said that. NPCs useful in the game or not? Yes, all the NPCs in this game were useful. 8.5. So that's it. I can't see anything I have in this notebook with regards to games. Beginning, middle, ending were considered good. Background noise. Sound and vibrations with regards to sound on my headphones and stuff, also good, also considered. So this game goes anywhere from an 8 to an 8.5 or 8.7. So I would give Metal Gear Solid, from what I'm considering, there's more pros with regards to this game, an 8.5. And that's the end of Metal Gear Solid. I've considered everything. I've considered sound. I've considered rollovers. I considered After Effects. I considered, well, After Effects didn't exist then. I considered loading, preloaders. I considered costumes, combat systems, secrets, resolutions, resource management, cooldowns, weapons, sound effects, architecture of the building, characters, emotions, logic, the method and how things were executed in transition, and the whole idea of the philosophy of the game and the environmental aspects of the game that is trying to push towards you to give you a certain zeal towards a better future, how to take care of yourself. This is a very educational game, so I'll give it another point for that, and educational with regards to what it was saying in context. And at the very end, I'll give it another point because what Kojima was saying with regards to your future and you selecting your past. Your parents aren't the same as you. You're your own individuals, and how you could make the world better. Human beings might not live forever. Another species might come on this planet. Everything Snake was saying, and he looking directly into the camera towards you. Those were the small little tidbits, small little breadcrumbs of fun factor as well as information with regards to who you are as a person and self. That's why this is my favorite Metal Gear Solid game of all times. It's a game that represents 5 factors that I think is very important for game as well as us as human beings. Spirituality, identifying yourself, of who you are as a person, who you want to be, where is your place, where is your place in society, how what makes you happy, what doesn't make you happy, and I guess the game itself. So there are many things that happen in Metal Gear Solid 2. This is my favorite Metal Gear Solid 2 of all times. It's not the best action-packed Metal Gear Solid game. That would be Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, the remake. That's why I'm saying I'm evaluating this before the remake comes out. But this is the most important Metal Gear Solid game with regards to philosophy, ideas, story management, and how you would develop a script. That's for something that's very detailed. Metal Gear Solid 3 was more of an action game and an emotional roller coaster. This was more like as a total game, a total story, and a philosophy game, as well as an educational one with regards to who's in charge of your government, who's manipulating who. Same as Metal Gear Solid 1, but this was embellished more than Metal Gear Solid 1. So this is slightly better than Metal Gear Solid 1. A lot of people like Metal Gear Solid 1, but this dove into a whole different ball game than Metal Gear Solid 1. And to me, this hits home more than any of the Metal Gear Solid because it had Kojima was saying a lot in this game, a lot. I mean, at certain points, I wanted him to shut the hell up, especially with regards to the Colonel, with regards to Rose, with regards to the ending. I mean, there was a lot of talking here. He had a lot to say. This is why this is his favorite game, and this is why it's also my favorite one within the franchise. I'm pretty sure he's changed his mind, which is his favorite now, but back then this was his favorite, and it still remains my favorite. So for this is the end of Metal Gear Solid 2. I will not be playing Metal Gear Solid 3. I will be considering continuing Dark Souls 3, but I will be doing the DLC. And of course, late March will be Final Fantasy Rebirth. So yeah, if you're not into Metal Gear Solid games, that's fine. But if you really want to know which is the best Metal Gear Solid with regards to story and content, it is number 2. With regards to action and emotions, it's Metal Gear Solid 3. Those are the best Metal Gear Solid games. Of course, Metal Gear Solid 4 comes in third, and it's a part of the competitor of the whole thing. And 4 and 5 are kind of competing against each other, but it's always been Metal Gear Solid 3 as the number 1 and Metal Gear Solid 2 as the number 2. But in all truth, all the really die-hard fans of Metal Gear Solid will always say number 2 is what defines the Metal Gear Solid series. People say no, it's number 1. The truth is number 1 was the springboard for diving into the water. The execution of the dive in midair before you hit the water, and then you're scored 7 or 8 or 9 out of 10 based on the performance of the dive is Metal Gear Solid 2. Not the person conditioning yourself and going up to the dive board and doing the dive, but is the performance within the dive was Metal Gear Solid 2. Whereas you train before, you get to the location, you beat the preliminaries, so on and so forth. That's Metal Gear Solid 1. The dive, with regards to popularity, with regards to the exuberance of what Kojima was trying to say, was within the performance. That was Metal Gear Solid 2. And if it wasn't, if the performance of Metal Gear Solid 2 was bad, Metal Gear Solid 3 would have not performed as well and be an emotional roller coaster in a different way. So they wanted to go from tactical urban warfare to jungle warfare because they knew they couldn't do Metal Gear Solid 2 again. So it's always going to be between Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. Two different atmospheres, two different type of styles for two different type of players of the Metal Gear. You either like jungle warfare or urban warfare. That's 1 or 2. So either Metal Gear Solid 3 or 1 could be your number 1. But never forget, if it's story you're looking for, with regards to the overall arc of what Kojima's trying to say, that will always be in the Metal Gear Solid 2. Hands down, how a story is crafted by sections with individuals, with low stories, high stories, mid stories, transition, as well as zenith point, drop off point, and cooldown effects, and the arc of your character from beginning to end. That Metal Gear Solid 2 is a masterclass on how to start from a beginning character to the end of a beginning character, and start off a beginning story to the end of a beginning story, because the story was the main character in Metal Gear Solid 2. Raiden was a factor in Metal Gear Solid 2, but the main factor, the main character in Metal Gear Solid 2 was the story, and Raiden was a representative of that story. And the simple fact that Solid Snake looked into the screen towards you playing the game to tell you exactly what's going on and what is your role playing this game, because you were also a character in the story. You will never get that in Metal Gear Solid 3 at all. You were a character in Metal Gear Solid 2. The game even tells you this and show you your play performance of you using and dying so many times to Raiden in a little cutscene. So you were also a character in Metal Gear Solid 2. It wasn't just the game itself. You were a character of this game because the game was about you. The story of the philosophy of the game was about you, the human. Your story was also in Metal Gear Solid 2. That is why this is my favorite Metal Gear Solid of all times, and I'm signing off now. Have a good day, and back to Dark.